Hey everybody, we have done it again. We have arrived, yes, at the end of another unit, this time industrialization. And I always feel like every time we get to an end of a unit, it's good just to take a few minutes and decompress, if you will, and maybe even reflect on all that we've learned and evaluate where we're at. We started with the big picture, where we went over the key ideas and concepts that we needed to know throughout this unit, and certainly the things that the state says that we need to know in preparation for our test next spring. So we will not forget these things. We will continue to review them, but I think we touched on all of them throughout the unit. So let's kind of just systematically kind of go through and just kind of reflect back on some of the things that we went over. We started with the rise of industry, right? The rise of industry, where by 1900, America had become the leading industrial power in the world. We talked about what some of those causes were and how the laissez-faire approach of the government at that time certainly caused for a lot of economic growth. And we also talked about business government interactions and relations. And, we talked about a lot of the technological innovations that led to new inventions, new time-saving inventions that caused business to grow and for the economy to grow. And then we moved into the dominant transportation system of the period, which was the railroads. Yes, the railroads that connected East and West, and not just by the movement of people, but also just the movement of goods, right? The movement of goods back and forth, East and West, really connected and united the nation in a way that had never been before. We talked about the major industrialists, right? And we had a debate, right? We talked about, these industrialists, were they robber barons, right? Robber barons, someone looking out for their own interest and greedy and corrupt and looking out for themselves, or were these industrialists what some might refer to as captains of industry, right? Captains of industry, people who, through skill and know-how and investment of time, energy, and effort, helped build the country and gave a lot of money to the poor and helped invest in America to make it great. So I don't know, hey, it's a debate that I guess we can continue to have. But then we also talked about the rise of big business, the rise of big business in general, right? And we talked about corporations. We talked about the different types of business structures. We looked at, specifically, we looked at the Rockefellers and Carnegie's, right? Carnegie Steel, the Rockefellers with Standard Oil. And we talked about their role in the economy and how they helped grow America. And then we ended really our last topic with unions, right? And the struggle that unions had at the beginning of our country, and how they rose up because of some of the horrible conditions of factory lives, and so these unions rose up to try to fight for better working conditions and better wages and better opportunities for workers. We talked about that early on. There was a lot of opposition, right? In fact, very early, they weren't even legal, but eventually unions would gain acceptance and would grow and gain in stature and power and recognition. And so, but we talked about the struggle, right? It was a lot of struggle, and you could argue it's still a struggle today. So, in fact, the American Federation of Labor, which began in late 1880s, still exists today. We talked about the role that women played in the development of unions and strengthening them. So, so those are all the ideas, you guys, that we talked about. I think very, very significant, valuable topics, and we'll continue to discuss them as we move forward. But hey, that's just part one of our Gilded Age time period, right? We talked about how the Gilded Age was really that time period between Reconstruction and the Progressive Era. And so I kind of broke it down into a couple different units, and we've covered industrialization, but our next topic of study is going to be Westernization and urbanization. So, hey, I'm looking forward to it, guys. If you, if you're in class, I look forward to seeing you back, all right? If you have been viewing these videos outside of the course, hopefully, as always, and I've stated it before, I hope that you've in some way been motivated or inspired to do some of your own personal research and learning. And hey, you know what? If if there's something during the period of industrialization that we didn't cover that you think we should cover more, you know what? I would certainly appreciate any feedback, because I'm always looking at things I can add to the course to make it better for all of us. So yeah, there's things that you think I should talk about more or maybe didn't, then hey, let me know. I'd be interested in getting some of your feedback. So with that being said, hey, last time I talked about that guy back there, right? If you remember at the end of our last unit, I talked about Sylvester, right? Well, he is back. I told you he probably would be back. He's still here. And unfortunately, Tweety is still not here. But I have not forgotten, and I will keep a lookout for him. I am committed to finding him, okay? Don't fear. I'll be back. You'll be back. He'll be back. Someday, I feel confident Tweety will be back. But hey, until then, hey, we will see you, and we'll see you in the next unit. Westernization and urbanization. So hey, we'll see you then. Bye.